Hello, my name is Barry Kleinbort, and I've been asked to talk about Arthur Siegel. I first met Arthur in the early 1980s. He was playing at the Cookery, which was a boîte in the East Village on University Place, and Alberta Hunter, the great jazz singer, was in residence there. But Monday nights were open, and Arthur would take the Monday nights. And friends and myself would go and see Arthur, and we just loved him. And so we would go all the time, and then he loved us because we were the younger generation, and he thought he was passing his knowledge on to us. So it became a mutual admiration society, and then it became lunches and brunches and dinners, and he would tell wonderful stories. When Arthur was in high school, he was the treasurer in his theater club in high school, and they had all been saving money. They wanted to see The Man Who Came to Dinner with Monty Woolley, which was playing on Broadway, and he convinced them all to take the money and go to see Higher and Higher, a new Rodgers and Hart musical that was opening on Broadway with Jack Haley and Shirley Ross. And so they all went, and they all hated the show. And Arthur said the show was terrible too, and they were all mad at him. But he said to me, "But I got to see Shirley Ross singing It Never Entered My Mind, and that made it all worthwhile." He always saw the good in everything and everybody. He didn't have a jealous bone in his body. And he would also, we would share holidays together. So Arthur and I were both loners on Christmas Day for obvious reasons. And so we started doing Christmas brunch. And one year, it had snowed terribly the night before, but we still said we'll do it. And I said, "Arthur, I'll come someplace right near you." So we went to this restaurant called The Saloon. And Arthur and I walked into the saloon, and we could see our breath. So we said, "What's going on in here?" And they said, "Well, our heating broke." So Arthur said, "Well, let's keep our coats on and we can stay." There was nobody else in the restaurant. It was just us. And Arthur, one of his manias was hot coffee. The coffee had to be hot. And it made him crazy if the coffee wasn't hot. So the restaurant was freezing. So he ordered coffee. And by the time the waitress brought the coffee to him, he went, "Hey, it's cold. The coffee is cold." So after 3 attempts, the waitress, who was brilliant, set up one of those bun automatic machines right next to our table. And so whenever Arthur wanted coffee, she came over and she literally, it was just 2 feet away. She would pour the coffee, and the coffee was still hot, and he was thrilled. And we would talk about, because he saw everything. He would go see everything, and I would ask him about all the shows that I never had the chance to see. So I'd say, "Arthur, what was Green Willow like? Hey! How was Destiny Rides Again? Hey!" So I began to figure out his taste in shows, and there had been a revival of The Most Happy Fella, and he hated The Most Happy Fella. So I assumed, and I said to him, "Well, you must have hated Kurt Weill's A Street Scene." And he goes, I loved Street Scene. That was one of the great evenings of my life. Oh my gosh, what an evening, what a show. So he continued to surprise me. And because of our friendship, and I got to meet Kay Ballard, and he called me up and he said Arthur had heard a song of mine. He loved my writing. And I had written this song, "I Won't Sing a Sondheim Song," that Julie Kernitz had introduced. And he said, "I'd love for Kay to sing that in a show we're doing off-Broadway." So I showed it to her. She said, yes, she'll do it. I made some changes in it for her. And then she started calling me for additional material. And that was really because of Arthur that I got to work with Kay. And because I worked with Kay, that show was seen by other people like Joe Sullivan Lesser, who then hired me to work with her. And that was really Arthur's, all his doing. The last story I want to tell you about Arthur, because I could tell you a lot of time, and now's not the time. But the last story to tell you about Arthur is the last time I saw him perform was at Michael's Pub, and he was doing a show with Kay, and they were doing a thing called Here's to the Ladies, about lady lyricists. And the show finished, and it was about 11 o'clock at night, and Arthur said, "I'm hungry." And I was there with Julie and with Joseph Weiss, and I think there were a couple of other people there. And the brasserie was right around the corner, and the brasserie was open 24 hours. So we went over to the brasserie on Madison Avenue, and we sat down and we started to talk. And during the course of our conversation and meal, we were asked to change tables twice because shifts kept changing and they kept closing tables, so they wanted us to move to other areas. And it's because by the time we finished the final cup of coffee, hot coffee, it was 6 a.m. And we all walked out and we watched the sun come up over New York City, which was deserted and beautiful. Madison Avenue was just beautiful. And Arthur said, "This is the way it was." And I felt for just a moment I had tasted what the heyday of New York nightlife was like in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s when Arthur was playing for all these people. And I'll never forget that morning. We all just got into a cab and said goodbye, but everybody was changed by that moment. So here's to that moment. Here's to you, Arthur. I miss you terribly. And thank you.